Welcome to Our Girl Relationships. We talk about the problems people face in their day to day lives. Let's start with the video.
I've always been quite distant with my parents. They weren't very affectionate people, and this was the case towards all my siblings, who were much older than me, by the way, around 8 to 10 years. So, needless to say, I never really knew what my parents were like towards them, since by the time they grew older, they had married and had their own children by the time I was old enough to understand. So, I grew up that way too and was always awkward around affection. Even when I saw my friends being affectionate towards one another, their partners, their parents, nothing really affected me and I just continued living my life. Things only started getting weird when I had left home for college. The little bit of contact that I had with my parents completely stopped, and the non existent contact with my siblings stayed the same. This was around the time that I got a girlfriend too, my first proper relationship, and I guess looking at her being so in touch with her parents kind of opened my eyes as to how unusual my relationship with my parents was. So I started initiating contact with them and tried making plans to see them, which all got turned down. This all made me try harder because it was like at that point, a switch had been turned on inside me and I had started to yearn for familial love and care. I guess that happened because of my girlfriend. Watching her provide me with the kind of love that I never received before made me want to seek out for more. And I found myself spiraling into a pit of low as I saw all these people find love from their parents while I stood there watching all possible doors close. This is when I really started digging into this situation, trying to find answers, until I graduated from college and suddenly my parents had all the love to show me. It was out of nowhere because they started to act like nothing ever happened between us. And although I was okay with that because technically, quite literally, nothing had happened between us, but it was still conflicting. But as I said, the inner child yearning for love inside me just accepted it as it was given to me. Now that I think about it, the red flags showed up during the beginning itself. It was the first day itself that my parents started talking about me supporting them financially, helping them do this, do that, because they were too old to do any of it. And honestly, I thought this was normal because, by the way my parents put it, the house that they lived in was technically brought to them by siblings. From the appliances to the cars that they had, everything was apparently paid off by my siblings. And it made a whole lot of sense because my siblings didn't just have normal jobs. They earned in the hundreds of thousands of dollars, so it was understandable when they said they helped them so much. But, like, even though I was earning well, being a recent graduate and having still not completed my specialization program, I wasn't as close to earning as my sibling. But upon hearing this during every single visit, I kind of felt slightly forced to help them. So I started to. I started off by paying for their bills, their groceries, and other small things. And then it soon escalated to me buying them new stuff that they needed in their house. This went on for about 2 years, and by the time I could even come to the realization that something was off, my girlfriend and I had started arguing about our finances as I had signed away a hefty sum of money to my parents to renovate the house. It was like the moment I handed them the check, it all started to make sense because I was literally buying their love. And the moment my girlfriend let out a deep sigh of disappointment as I informed her of this, that was the moment I knew I had messed up and needed to fix things. So I tried to call my parents, asking them to meet me, but all their calls started going on voicemails. They had stopped responding to me. All their calls, texts, video calls kept being rejected, and this had been going on since the past few days now. I had started to worry at this point, not only for myself, but them too, because regardless of what they did, they were all people with health issues. So about a week passes by, and I'm on the verge of calling the cops when suddenly my dad calls me up telling me that they were out of the city, which is why they couldn't receive my calls. Red flags were raised immediately for me this time, but I didn't give in to them. I just heard their stupid, nonsensical explanation and decided to let things go back to normal. This is when the renovations began. Hell, my dad even introduced me to the person who was going to help them. I had kind of gotten over the money thing because my parents had stopped asking me for it so frequently anymore. It was like I had gotten the best of all familial love and peace. Well, it didn't take long for things to come sloping downhill once again as I decided to give a surprise visit to my parents along with my newly engaged fiance. I also wanted to see the progress of the house and so thought this was a perfect plan. Well, I get there and it's evening time, it's darker than usual, and all the lights surrounding my parents' house are shut, surprisingly. Initially, I just chalked this up to my parents being out, but as I walk closer to my house, I am dumbfounded to find myself standing there and looking at this board that read, House for Sale, Contact for more details. I was stunned. For a moment, I thought I had parked outside the wrong house, but I didn't. Even my fiance seemed confused, but was at least composed, unlike me. So she suggested that I call up my parents, which I did, with shaky hands. I didn't expect them to pick up the call, but they surprisingly did and had the sheer guts to tell me they were home when I asked them where they were. They immediately began backtracking as I told them it was nice to see them living in a house with a for sale board outside. They started giving me all sorts of nonsensical excuses like, it is not what it looks like, or we had to move because the renovations were taking too long, yada yada. I told them to have fun going to the courts because I will be suing them if they don't return me this money ASAP, for which their response was crying crocodile tears, as if that was going to affect me. I simply just hung up and left the property. I knew I wasn't wrong in this situation, but when my siblings started blowing up my phone, one after the other, for treating my parents terribly after all that they had done for me, I'm finding myself questioning my decision. What should I do here? Was I the a-hole? After trying to get my siblings to listen to me, I had given up. I had one last ray of hope, though, who went by the name of Jordan. Jordan is my oldest sibling who lives in the same city as me and didn't say anything when this situation occurred. Well, I contacted Jordan explaining the entire situation all in one Facebook message and providing him my contact details toward the end of the message. Surprisingly enough, he called me the very same night, and with much hesitation, I picked up. We initially exchanged some awkward greetings, and eventually Jordan decided to cut to the chase. He informed me that everything that I had written in my message was very different than how the series of events went by for him and his siblings, which is why their reactions were so harsh. But now that he read my side, he told me that he was willing to meet me to discuss about this situation in detail, which I thought was a good idea. So we have decided on a date and time to meet. I think I'll be updating the post when the meeting takes place. I met up with Jordan and the meeting was intense. It was like the more we spoke, the more things started connecting and making sense to us. He started off by telling me that our siblings had moved out along with him by the time I was around 5. They led a very busy life as they worked for experience as well as studied for their difficult degrees. One of the reasons why they also became distant with my parents was because of their poor relationship and constant arguing that had an impact on their mental health. Well, so they leave and my parents keep them in loop about our lives, meaning they give all my siblings false information about me and my life. They start to tell everyone that I'm a difficult child, how I need to be put in special classes because of my anger issues, and how I need therapy. This, of course, concerns my siblings, and they start sending me money, which, needless to say, never gets to me. So this continues for a while, and after one point, my siblings also start to contribute to my parents' living and extra expenses until one day it all clicks to them that a lot of the things that my parents had been telling them is a lie. One of them being my mom having to quit her job because of her illness, which never existed. But they never really ended up finding out the reality behind me and the story my mom made up about me. So when they found out that I had threatened to sue mom and dad over the money, I had given the money to move into a house closer to my siblings, they took her side. This statement confused me as well, and I decided to sort it, telling Jordan that the money was for renovations and that I had specifically written the check under the name of a dude who claimed would help my parents. This shocked Jordan, and he asked me if the name was Ryan. I immediately said yes, and boy, Jordan's face was worth looking at when he found this out, because he then informed me that Jordan was none other than my dad's close friend that he met at one of the clubs he went to. Not only that, Ryan had helped our dad multiple times before to not only scam my other siblings, but also a couple of relatives. Hearing this once again left me speechless, but also turned out to be the point where I just knew I needed to drag these people to court. It just wasn't me, though, because Jordan and my other siblings had similar plans in their minds. I will be visiting a lawyer very soon. Jordan and I are also thinking about confronting Ryan soon. We'll let you all know how that goes. I'm not sure if anyone remembers, but I had posted a couple of months back on this subreddit asking for advice. I got a lot of helpful comments and DMs, but not only with advice, but also support, which I'm extremely grateful for. I just wasn't able to post earlier because I had gotten extremely caught up in this mess, which I'm still not free from, but free enough to make this update. Well, to put it in short, me and all the siblings who had gotten deceived by our parents in one way or the other decided to file a lawsuit against them. As I mentioned earlier in one of my updates, Jordan and I also decided to meet up with Ryan, who agreed that he will act as evidence if we are able to reduce his sentence. We agreed because, after all, this isn't about money or justice for my siblings and I. We know how bad we have messed up after not staying together and communicating. These lawsuits are about teaching our parents a lesson, which I'm sure they will learn after they're set to face jail time for sure, with the overwhelming amount of proof against them for fraud and scam. This situation has taught me a lot. More specifically, it has taught me the importance of family and how much communication matters. This has also taught me the importance of how you can't buy love. I have enrolled myself, as well as my girlfriend, into individual and couples therapy. One good thing that has come out of this is that we're soon looking to get engaged, and I might just invite my siblings to my wedding, who are waiting for it to happen with open arms. I hope this post helped you just as much as it helped me. And lastly, thank you all for your lovely advice. NTA, drag your parents to court. They're a pathetic excuse for parents, and trust me, you're better off parental love if this is what your parents give you, claiming it is love. NTA, cut all your losses and get yourself into therapy. I'm married to my husband of 4 years, and we have kids similar in age from our previous partners. My husband has a daughter, Susie, 21, and I have a daughter, Lynn, 19. This year, Lynn started her first year of university and is studying in another part of the country. She's gotten a loan to cover tuition, and I've sent Lynn some money to help her with living expenses. And she's planning on doing seasonal work over the holidays to get extra money. Susie has started her second year of university in another part of the country as well. My husband has been sending her money regularly throughout her studies, and he pays her tuition. Recently, my husband came to me and said that Susie is struggling financially after having car problems, and asked if I could pitch in and send her some money to help with expenses. We have a prenup and keep our finances separate except for splitting rent and bills. I politely refused and asked if Susie had asked her mother to send her money. Just to make it clear, her mother is and always was involved in her life. My husband got offended by my question and asked if I cared about helping out family members. He said that it's only fair I send Susie money since I send Lynn money. I pointed out that he doesn't send Lynn money. He said that Lynn isn't struggling. and got really mad and accused me of playing favorites. I thought this was really out of the blue and told my husband that both Susie and Lynn have one parent that's financially helping them by sending them similar amounts of money, so it's not like their levels of support are really all that different. My husband wasn't having it. He called me selfish and said that I'm being a garbage step parent. NTA, but you really need to find out where his money has gone. He never should have asked the question in the first place based on what you've described, and his reaction was way over the top. It's very common for people who know they're wrong to go on the offensive like this. NTA, he is the one who is the garbage parent. Your daughter is taking out loans to pay for school while he is paying for his daughter's. That makes him an AH. Ask him why he isn't paying for your daughter's tuition if he thinks things should be equal. Good thing you got a prenup because he would be using your money for himself. He sounds like the my money is mine and your money is ours kind of person. I, 36, female, have a 15-year-old daughter, Hannah, with my ex-husband, Greg. Me and Greg divorced 2 years ago due to him having an affair with his current husband, Stan. Hannah sees her dad often but refuses to spend the night because she doesn't want to be in Stan's presence. Hannah is also in therapy and has been for the past year. Hannah has been acting like a complete brat for the past 6 months. She gets pissed when I tell her to clean up her room that has trash everywhere. She constantly trashes the living and gets upset when I make her clean up her mess. She refuses to clean up her messes like dishes, clothes on living room floor, etc. Got mad and broke my TV when I told her to stop using my bathroom when she has her own. Eats up all the food in the house. Breaks my house rules constantly. No living room TV on past 11 a.m. No friends over since all her friends are destructive or disrespectful. No in and out of the kitchen constantly. Stop leaving my doors open because I hate when flies get in. Stop leaving all my lights on and etc. She constantly breaks her things and gets mad when I say no to buying another one for her. Steals money from me. Her grades are horrible, which I don't press her about because she is going through stuff, but still a bit disappointed. Broke my laptop that I needed for school and didn't care at all. Steals from stores and a lot more, but 3,000 character limit. Hannah lately has been begging for a cat, but I refuse because I am allergic to cats, and she is as well, but just not as serious as mine. Though even if we weren't allergic, I'd probably still say no because she isn't responsible enough for a pet, and has shown it time and time again. This has caused her to act out more lately, and she got into trouble at school today for bullying a girl, and this I pressed her about. I started to talk to her about that and other things, but she didn't want to talk and just started getting pissed. She started saying she hated living with me because I never put time into her, which I very much do constantly. But she refuses and just locks herself in her room. This isn't the first time she's said this with a different reasoning, so I told her if she hated living with me, then she can go live with her dad. She was shocked and screamed that I'm a horrible mother. She didn't call her dad, but she did lock herself in her room, so AITA? AHH. My daily dose of birth control. I don't know what to tell you, OP, but the divorce really did a number on her, and she's lashing out. Bring this up with her therapist because this girl is really struggling. Also, I don't get the no in and out of the kitchen rule. Why do parents have that? Is your child not allowed to get something to eat? NTA. NTA, you sound like a parent at the end of her rope after going through a terrible experience yourself. Your daughter is clearly suffering. It's good she's in therapy, but it sounds like you need family therapy with a neutral party who can guide you all through these treacherous waters. Your ex-husband should be part of this process. I'm sorry you and your daughter are going through this. I wonder if there's anything besides the divorce that triggered this behavior. You said the divorce happened 2 years ago, but her bad behavior started in the past 6 months. Also, are there any fun things your daughter likes to do that you can do together?